Hello, my name is Kelsey Heltzel. I will be using the problem cause solution pattern for this speech. The social problem I will be discussing about is addictions, mostly in teenagers. Drug addictions, eating disorders. This is definitely a common issue right now and is good to discuss about. My general goal is to persuade my audience to act on this issue in response to this presentation on drug addictions and eating disorders. My specific goal is to inform my audience about the social problem of drug addictions and eating disorders, mostly in teenagers, and to persuade them that going to get help or therapy is a good solution for this problem for several reasons. One of which is the fact that this solution, if successful, will promote the attention of teen addictions and help people that need it, which is something that God values according to Scripture. Social media, everyone has it. Everyone has some sort of account that they go to on every day where they see perfect people in their perfect lives looking beautiful. Most of it is fake. All the stunning pictures we see and how happy they are, that is mostly fake. Social media paints a picture of only the happy things in life, not all the bad things that everyone has. No one's life is perfect. We then get insecure and start to wish how our lives could be like theirs. Drug addictions, vaping, and eating disorders are a big issue today with teenagers, mostly caused from social media. Most of you in this class are teenagers or young adults. I know you all have some sort of social media, and I'm sure at some point in time you scrolled past a picture of someone you follow and thought, wow, he or she is so pretty or handsome and is always so happy. I wish I was him or her and had their life. We need to realize, though, that everything we see is not really what that person's personal life is about. Social media is all the good things in life and doesn't show the hard things that people go through and all the negatives. So social media is mostly fake. I've done a lot of research, and being that I'm a teenager growing with social media and the pressure it puts on people to look perfect is my credibility. The purpose of this speech is to bring attention on the eating disorders and drug addictions among teenagers and young adults, and how to prevent it and solve it. My main points consist of how drug addiction affects the person using it, eating disorders and what they do to you and how they are common among teenagers, and lastly, how to solve and help both those issues. I will now go more into detail about how drug addiction affects the person using it and the loved ones around the person, and also why it mostly is in teenagers and young adults. Drug addiction is something that can affect people very badly and can also affect loved ones around them. To most people, drug addiction seems like something you shouldn't worry about if you are not the one doing it. But if it is someone you know, you should try and help. Drug addiction doesn't only affect the person doing it, it also affects the loved ones around them, their family, their friends, their relationships, boyfriend or girlfriend. Latest news says it's very rare that other people aren't affected. Drug addiction doesn't only affect you and your family, but it also affects your career, your children's education, or even your family's financial security. Your impact can also extend outside of the immediate family. There are so many ways doing drugs can affect you. There are also a variety of short-term and long-term health effects associated with the drugs you are taking. The specific effects between drugs can lead to chronic disease or alter an individual's productivity. The most permanent effect of drug addiction is death. Latest news says there is a definite link between crime and drug addictions that is mainly contributed to the illegal status of commonly abused drugs. I am sure you, as well as I, would not even want to get close to drugs because we don't want to risk anything like that in our lives. But most people that get into drugs are involved in crime and were raised in a poor home. This brings me to another issue a lot of teenagers deal with, which is eating disorders. Eating disorders are very common, especially in teenagers. Here's why it is so common. Eating disorders are very common in teenagers today. People see perfect pictures on social media and they look at themselves and try to change themselves to be more like that person they saw, which then leads to very unhealthy eating disorders. Kiri said, upset with the sudden weight gain, the 15-year-old forced herself to throw up after eating school lunch. It seemed harmless. After all, most of the kids at our lunch table had done it before, and they seemed perfectly okay. Then after doing it 5 times, and then at age 10, Carrie had a new ritual of vomiting right after she ate. She did it at school and then again at home. No one knew about this until Thanksgiving. She had eaten more than usual and told her parents she felt sick. She tried to vomit but couldn't even gag. Suddenly, there was a tap on the door. Carrie's parents answered the door, asking how long she had been in there throwing up her food. There are many teenagers today that do this because they are so concerned about losing weight and looking perfect, and this causes eating disorders and causing people to get sick. Another story I found on the web was about Mason, who was 14 years old. Mason said yes, he was also obsessed with his weight gain. He was short and chunky most of his life. He had said he had a growth spurt. He is now tall and thin. He was determined to never be the fat kid again. Mason hated throwing up, so he started eating salad with no dressing, running miles each day, and taking laxatives to help his weight down. It worked. He looked thin and athletic. But he felt exhausted, fatigued, and irritable. In the middle of the night last winter, Mason became violently ill with stomach cramps and a high fever. The doctor admitted him to the hospital to get a running test to figure out his mystery illness. As you can see, weight obsession can lead to so many illnesses. Weight obsession is such a common thing today, especially in teenage girls. It is almost forced upon that we have to be thin and in shape. WebMD said weight obsession affects millions of teenagers today, especially girls. At any given time, 1 out of 7 women has or is struggling with an eating disorder. At any given time, one study a few years ago found at 36% of adolescent girls, more than 1 out of 3 believed they were overweight, while 59% were trying to lose weight. I think that percentage is crazy. It really shows how much people care about trying to change themselves. Social media is making us feel as though we have to change ourselves, when in reality we should love ourselves and love the body God gave us. It isn't good to work out. It is good to work out and eat healthy so that you are healthy and you feel good, but not so you look perfect to try to impress other people. Work out and eat healthy for yourself and for your body and for your mental well-being, not to try to impress people and look perfect. You should love yourself just the way you are. This brings me to my last main point of how to help these issues. There are several ways to help drug addictions and eating disorders. Here are a few. There are drug rehabs for teens struggling with drug addictions. These rehab places are designed for teens that are struggling with anxiety, depression, mental health, and drug addiction. Turnbridge says for nearly 17 years, they have positively transformed the lives of their clients and their families, are a comprehensive 3-phased approach to addiction treatment that is designed to gradually reintegrate our clients back into the world. This is a good way to get help if you are struggling with drug addiction. Sometimes family members are not able to help you with your addiction, so going to a place that has studied on how to help these addictions will certainly help you. There are also rehab houses for private eating disorder services. Studies show that at least 30 million people of all ages and genders suffer from an eating disorder in the U.S. A limited number of individuals in the group receives the treatment that they need. O'Connor Professional Group says, individuals with eating disorders and related behaviors require a cohesive plan with vetted, high-quality resources and tailored eating disorders services to address their specific needs. OPG eating disorder services include options targeted to individual client needs. Many individuals suffering from eating disorders have a co-occurring mental health condition or other behavioral issues, which could be addressed through OPG services. You can see that these services know what the people are going through and know how to help them. They studied it, they worked with it, they know how to work with them. Lots of people experience eating disorders, and if you are experiencing one, I would recommend going to one of these services and getting the proper help you need. This brings me to my conclusion. My main points about this topic are to tell you about eating disorders and how they are common in teenagers and eating disorders, and how they are also common in teenagers and how they affect people, and how to get help for drug addictions and eating disorders. As I said before, drug addictions don't only affect the person doing them, they affect the family, the friends, relationships, lots of people around you. We also talked about how eating disorders are very common in teenagers today. I talked about the 2 stories about Carrie and Mason and about their eating disorders and how it affected them. Then I talked about how the rehab houses for drugs and addictions and eating disorders were recommended to go to those. They studied, they know what they're doing, they know how to help you. Drug addictions and eating disorders are very common in teenagers and young adults. My best advice would be to try to prevent these is to avoid comparing yourself to others and thank God for what He gave you. Nowadays, with all the social media, we really struggle with, once again, scrolling through and then we see somebody who looks so perfect, their body looks so good, they're so thin, and then we look at ourselves and compare and we're like, oh, I need to look like them, cut back on all this stuff, and that's really what causes those eating disorders. Once again, love yourself, love the body that God gave you, and just, if you want to work out and eat healthy, do it for your health, just to be healthy, not to look super good. That's how you get those eating disorders. Yep, and that is it.